In the Southwest United States, there is a place. It's a place that exists amidst the lines of countless classic country songs, old boys in pickup trucks, and cheerleaders in cowboy boots. Hallelujah, says the preacher on Sundays to packed congregations. Out here, the sun will bake you slow. Dry heat smells sweet of mesquite trees.
My given name is Christopher Samuel C. And I say that because there is a history of the erasure of traditional names. I am a graduate student at the University of Victoria in the School of Social Work. But when I'm not doing that, I like to be active, I like to be on the land, I like to make art, but I don't see myself as like a soapbox poet. I see myself just as someone who writes about whatever they care to write about, but because what I care about is social justice, that's what happens to come up. I'm passionate about young people and working with young people, and specifically when you see a young person like grasp onto something that they either didn't know that they had or was like lurking in them and they didn't know they could free it. That's pretty sweet. So I'm passionate about passion, and I think all of that is tied up within this package of justice, because in an unjust society, people don't have access to things that allow them to live in a joyful way. And I think it all boils down to justice, and it all boils up to joy. Well, I've always been a creative person. So when I was young, I loved to create by way of drawing, writing, and making music. And now that I'm less young, I like to express my creativity by way of drawing and writing and making music. So it hasn't changed at all. Yeah, spoken word has it's exploded into a public consciousness. Everything. I mean, like Kendrick Lamar's albums have spoken word, Beyonce's albums have spoken word. I think the sky's the limit. Honestly, I think the sky's the limit.
More than minimum wage and labor scars, taking the slow rumble of the passing train as motivation, reminding him that those who built this nation were Chinese just like him, the original victims of exploitation, and still today they exploit Asians, regulating, berating, and hating Asians. So when the train finally slowed down and pulled into the station, my father found peace remembering those who came before him. See, my dad's one of those old...
When I was in Ottawa, I was walking around downtown, saw a poster saying, hey, come see Shane Korzan, he's featuring in town. And I remember sitting in the crowd, I was in the third row, being like, that is wicked. I think I can do that too. I went on that night and I wrote 2 poems, and then I went to my next slam the next week, and I came in second. That first time, like at a poetry slam, I was definitely like unsure as to whether I belonged. They're like doing drama on stage and comedy on stage and like interpretive dance on stage and rapping on stage and poetry reading on stage all blended into one. And so basically everyone who's going up there is like doing a one-person variety show, and I went up there with my papers. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't have any of like the showmanship, the showpersonship that is what I thought required to do this, but I have my words, and that's the only thing I've ever been sure of. So I gave the words. There has been tension in the Canadian community, which is, I think, a microcosm of like tension all over the world in topics of social justice, topics of race, topics of gender. I think being part of something that you love so much and seeing the shit kind of rise to the top and come to light is definitely a big challenge. Like everything is like intertwined, and so I couldn't be pursuing justice and activism in my life and not support that same thing happening within my artistic community.
I'm sorry I condemn you to hell because you're gay. Instead of love, I jump to hatred, mouth open and tongue preaching, eyes open but not seeing that you are just the same as me, a fucking human being. I'm sorry I only hang...
In the fall of 2016, I was in Rio, and the festival itself it's called the Festival of the Peripheries. It's for marginalized populations in Brazil. The morning that the festival began, and we had our poets meeting in the hotel lobby, and so it's me and 20 poets from around the world sitting in the lobby, and we're watching the big screen TV, and they're announcing the results of the US election. And you got this banner going across, it's CNN or whatever that's going on. They're like, Donald Trump wins the election, and poets around me, people that have become my friends very quickly, are breaking down and crying. And the American poet Jessica Caramore from Detroit, fierce black woman, she's like, guys, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And then Roberta stands up and she's like, that's why we're all here, because in times like this, art is the only way that we can resist. And when you hear that, you're like, oh, damn. Yeah, this is bigger than what I thought I came here for. Spoken word has completely, shaped and molded who I have become as a person. Even to say it blows my mind still, because I'm like, how is it possible that something as small as this art form could have fundamentally changed my, oh, right, it's because this art form is not small. Art is not small. We have to approach it with joy, because if you don't approach it with joy, the world sucks. Then I don't actually know what the point is, and that is a scary place to be. You don't have to be a poet to be a poet, you know? You don't have to be a storyteller to tell stories. Everyone tells stories in their life. Living is a story. So the underlying fundamental value and significance of joy to our experience of being human beings on the planet. That's what I want people to take away.
Space collides, scenes happen so fastly. Open, stop the rap, see I wrestle in the castle, see it happen so magically.